great master used to say, his teaching, his method, the path of the masters, Sant Mat, is meant for the brave, not for the weak. You have to be a warrior. He used to use the word. You have to be a warrior to be in this path. Why did he say that? What is the need to be brave and warrior in order to meditate and find yourself? He explained that many of us cannot cope up with the pralabdha, the destiny we are born with. And we try to run away from it. We are cowards. If we cannot face what we designed as an experience of destiny, then that is not a spiritual path at all. That's escapism. The path of the Master says, you should be strong and be warriors and face your life where you have been placed in the middle. Cope up with all the ups and downs of destiny. And then in the middle of it, escape and go back to your home from this network into which you have come.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's satsang. I hope you can hear me or see me now because I had a small problem with this. Oh, okay. Okay, I will read the schedule now. We will begin with a song by Komal. Then we have a talk by Michael and a story by Naftes. Then we will proceed to a short Diane session within 5 minutes. And then we will watch Master's video on YouTube and we will meditate with love and devotion. Thank you so much. We can start now.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind, 'cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning, 'cause I give you all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Nice to see all of you. my holy family of God, my holy family of Master, my eternal family, my eternal family of God, as one day we're all going to be together enjoying and dancing in the kingdom of God. That's why we are an eternal family of God, a family of love that will bond together and stay together forever. This is by the grace of our Holy Master that all the lovers of God, all the lovers of God are our true family, because one day, soon, not long from now, we're going to be in the land of bliss, in the land of joy. We're going to be free from this trap of the prison house. We're going to be free from the mind, and we're going to be free from the senses, and we're going to be in the sea of love, in the sea of sweetness, in the sea of Master, in the sea of consciousness, as we will rise into God consciousness. This is why we are here for. We are here to know ourselves as soul, and then to rise into body consciousness. And to rise into body consciousness is to rise in totality. And to rise in totality is freedom. This is the true freedom that all the saints and masters spoke about. And it is this freedom from this cage of the body that we even can start to get out of this cage on daily basis by learning how to die. As the saints say, learn how to die so you can begin to live. Learn how to die is the secret of coming out of this prison house, that even though we still have to go through our destiny, and our destiny might be 60, 70, 80, or 90 years, our destiny might have all types of problems in it, according to what we have sown in the past lives. However, we can rise above all these problems by coming up here to the doorway of freedom, to the gateway of freedom, where we open the prison house with the grace of the Master and get pulled out of here. And when we rise out of here, we withdraw from the body. When we withdraw from the body, what does that mean? We are also withdrawing from all the problems of this world, all the problems of this world, all the worry of this world, or everything that we face in daily basis. We can put aside, push it to the side, and then withdraw up here to the gateway of freedom, be pulled by the love of our Master, who is total. And when we are pulled, then we are released. We are released from the problems, from the worries, from the diseases of the body, and we are in a tranquil place, we are in a serene place, we are in a peaceful place. The more we escape, the more this world will become easier to deal with, as this is our escape way into bliss and into love. And when we escape here into bliss and into love, then we are in the lap of God. And when we are in the lap of God, we are reposing in our Master, we are taking refuge in the Total One, and we are holding the hand of the Total One. Then He also deals with our problems. He also deals with our problems in this world, and to the best that this karma that we're going through becomes easier, much easier for us to go through, as this world is not a bed of roses. It is actually a field of thorns. And if you look at it really deeply, it is like us, we are walking in a minefield. We are walking in a minefield, and if we step the wrong direction, that could cause us suffering. So we learn when we repose in here in the lap of God, when we repose in the lap of in the kingdom of God, in our true home, all godly knowledge, all godly wisdom comes to us from within, and fortifies us, that when we walk in this world, we have that power behind us. We have our Master behind us, we have our soul, and we have our full connection with God and the kingdom of God. And when whatever we collected when we were here at the Third Eye Center, when we were free, when we were in the lap of God, whatever we collected at that time, in meditation, we bring it into this world. So we bring that love, we bring that joy, and we bring the blessings of our Master to this world. And then when we bring it to this world, then this world becomes a part of the kingdom of God. It becomes heaven. It becomes a heaven. And just like I said yesterday when I was telling the story of Joseph, how when his karma was that he was put into the well, then the voice came to him. That voice that came to him is because his inner eye is open, because his inner ear is open. He's connected to the music of the spheres. He's connected to godly melody, the godly melody that harmonized him. And when he was in the well, he did not worry. That voice inside of him, the voice of the soul, comforted him and said, I will take care of you. I will solve your problem. I have prepared the medicine for you. I have prepared the medicine for you. I can make stones float. I can put life into stones. I can make nothing into something. That this power that we are connected to is not just a small power. It's not it's a humongous, it's a power that cannot be described. It's a power that cannot be described, and it can change the whole world for us. So we get all the knowledge and all the wisdom. And this knowledge and wisdom, we cannot get it from books. It comes from within, and it comes from increasing our intuition. Increasing our intuition, we start to live with the power of our intuition. To live in the power of our intuition is to do the right actions, is to do the correct steps in life, and to step the least on those traps, on those minefields of the mind that the mind has set for us. That once we keep going once we go to our true home regularly, once we sit in the lap of Master regularly, then, then we all this knowledge is connected with us, and then we live happily in this world. We live happily in this world as we know what to avoid. We know what to do. We know what's good and what's bad, and we can guide humanity, and we can guide ourselves first. We can guide our families, and we can guide our friends, and then we can guide humanity on the right way to live. And what is that right way to live? The right way to live is that we have to put God first and the world second. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else shall be added unto you. That when we put our aim on God, then whatever He has becomes ours. And this is the true way of living. This is the true way of living, to live as in God, with God, part of God, walk this world with God, and make God the priority, make God our life. Master, keep Master in our heart 24/7. And then everything we do, it will be our inner Master doing for us. Every decision we do, it will be from an inner feeling, and that inner feeling which comes directly, that is our inner Master. And our inner Master will be guiding us in our world. We will know what is true and what is untrue. We know what is true and what is untrue. And everything that is true is everything that comes from Shabd, everything that comes from Master, and everything that comes from God. Simran will become the food of our soul. Repetition of the holy names of God becomes our food. It nourishes our soul. And that food, God, they say that God lives in these words, in these holy words that were given to us and charged by the perfect living Master. God lives in these words. I have read it in the Holy Scriptures, in the Adi Granth, Guru Granth Sahib, that God lives in His words, in these holy words. So when we repeat them, we are bringing Master so close to ourselves, and we are controlling our most horrible enemy, which is the mind, because the mind is always thinking, and sometimes the thoughts are very toxic. And when the thoughts are very toxic, they affect since we are all connected, since we are all connected to each other, our thoughts are very, very powerful. They are very potent. They are like an arrow. They are like an arrow, especially if it's a bad thought, then it hits the other person in the subconscious. People think that when we think we are hiding ourselves, but no, we are not hiding ourselves, because there are many ways of communication that we do with the other entity, the other person in front of us. And what is that? First, we communicate. There is something called non-verbal communications. And I read a book about non-verbal communications. It was very, very interesting book. It taught me a lot about people's postures, about how, if like people walk like this, they are not feeling confident, they are feeling weak. But people who are walking this and their head up high, they are feeling confident. People who are having their hands like this, they are trying to defend themselves from something. So there is so many. There's the non-verbal communication, and then there is the telepathic communication, because also we have an astral body, and we have an astral mind, and we are connected with those regions, because we are a combination of many things. We are this body, we are the astral body, we are the causal body, and then we are the soul. So we communicate with so many ways and means. So many ways and means. The master says that in the astral region, people communicate with telepathically. They don't need to speak. They don't need to speak. And also here, we can also connect with people telepathically through the power of the thought. Through the power of the thought, it reaches people's hearts. It reaches people's hearts. There was once a king, his name was King Akbar, and he was walking with his minister, and there was a peasant coming towards them. And then the king told his minister, I don't know why, but I feel like killing this person. I feel like beating this person. I don't know why, but there must be something behind it. Can you please go to that person and tell him that he's totally safe? We just need the truth from him. Just tell us the truth. Tell us the truth and don't lie, and nobody is going to touch you. What were you thinking when you were passing here and you saw the king? And then he had like some enmity with the king, and he was thinking that what I was thinking is that I would like to pluck every hair on his beard and beat him up and do this and do that to him. So his thoughts went to the king, and the king, of course, replied with the same thoughts, as love begets love, but hatred begets hatred. So the king replied, he had those inner thoughts because he was hit in his subconscious with those telepathic thoughts that came from that peasant that he wants to kill him. So out of the abundance of the heart, a man speaketh. That's why we have to always watch our thoughts. We have to always watch our thoughts, as our thoughts reach the other entity that we are thinking of. Even if that person is across the ocean, our thoughts are so potent and our thoughts are so powerful that they get to that person's subconscious, and that person feels them. That's why the saints and masters prescribe Simran to us, to control our thought. That once the toxic thoughts start to come, then we remember that, oh, I have a remedy for this. I have a remedy for this, what my master gave me, and then I can start with the holy Simran. And if the thoughts are coming very fast and attacking us very fast, we can start doing Simran very fast too, as fast as those thoughts, and do rounds and rounds of Simran, until those thoughts go away. The same way when we sit in meditation, sometimes our mind attacks us. Our mind poses as a friend, but he is our formidable enemy. He poses as a friend, and he tries to sneak out these thoughts so we can slip into fantasies. And you know what, the mind always goes towards the dirty drain and towards the enjoyments of the pleasures of the senses. And so how do we fix that? Because then it takes our attention from up here, from the doorway of the kingdom of God, into the lower chakras, and then we are stuck here in the lower chakras, and we don't slip into the regions of love, into the regions of bliss, into the regions of ecstasy, into the regions where our true home is, and where our father and he's our father and our mother is waiting for us here inside. So once the mind attacks us to try to take our consciousness from our true home, it takes us the other direction. And what is the remedy? The remedy that the saints and master have prescribed to us is that we have to watch our thought. We have to watch our thought and realize that the mind is taking us now to the other direction, and catch it right away. Catch it right away and do the Simran of the holy words that are very powerful and can be a remedy, can be a remedy. If that did not even work, put Master's video on. Put Master's video on, listen to the words of Master and do Simran at the same time, just to quench the fire of those thoughts, to quench the fires of those thoughts. If we ever have a bad thought regarding someone else, then we can ask Master to forgive that thought, and we send instead of those thoughts, we send Simran towards that person and ask Master to bless them. That's how instead of his subconscious first being hit by something bad, then we ask Master to remove it, and we put Simran instead. And this way we can live a life of non-toxicity. Even the thoughts are so powerful that even if there is a story of Saint Kirpal, I just remembered that when he was in the army, and he asked somebody to cook for him, and he told him, please, when you are in the kitchen cooking for me, don't let anybody else in the kitchen. Please, you cook for me, and repeating the names of God. Repeat the names of God and think of Master, and then cook for me. And one day, Sant Kirpal, after having the food, his mind started to reverberate. As when our mind becomes like an empty slate of paper, an empty slate of paper with only beautiful thoughts, like a white piece of paper, any adulteration can affect it. Any adulteration can cause, just like if there is a water that is calm and you throw a pebble in it, then there is ripples. The same thing, when a mind is very pure, anything can affect it. And Sant Kirpal was affected. He was affected with the thoughts. When that person was cooking the food, he invited somebody to the kitchen and they were talking. And they were having worldly conversation, and the worldly conversation, of course, went into the food, and Sant Kirpal ate it, and it totally affected his subconscious, it affected his mind, and his mind started to become active. So he went to that person who was cooking for him and told him, listen, please don't lie. What happened yesterday? And then he said that somebody came in the kitchen, and as I was cooking, we were having a worldly conversation. So this is the power of the thought. That's why the Saint Baba Sawan Singh used to never eat food except from the sabidars that cooked for him. And used to take the food with him when he traveled, because he wanted it to stay holy. He wanted it to be a holy food. So sometimes we are forced to eat in a place that is not that is not our house, that we have not been cooked with Simran. So that's why the saints say, if you're going to eat outside, and they don't advise it, they always advise us to cook our food with love and devotion and with Simran, and that way it becomes prashad, and it gets charged with the God power, and then everybody who eats it partakes of that. Everybody who eats it enjoys the Simran in it, the good thoughts in it, and the godly thoughts in it, and the charging in it that comes from the Master. So that's why the saints say, cook your own food. Try your best. If for any reason you cannot cook your own food and you had to eat it somewhere outside, then before you eat that food, sit in it, ask Master to bless it, and do rounds and rounds of Simran. And when you eat it, you also do Simran. You also keep the thought of Master when you eat the food. This is how thoughts are very, very potent, are very, very powerful. So we are, and that's why also the saints and masters, they prescribe the diary. That the diary is very, very important, because all our action, actually, thoughts, if not controlled, can become action. They translate into action of the physical body, and that can also create big karma. So first there is the thoughts, which is less karma, but it creates karma. But once it translates into action, it becomes a bigger karma. That's why the thoughts, the saints and masters said, weed them out, weed out all thoughts that are not concerned with God. Any thought that takes you away from God, Sant Kirpal used to say, it's a sin. And any thought that takes you close to God, that's a virtue. So how how the saints prescribe? They prescribe, do a diary, do the diary. And the Sant Kirpal's diary is on the internet. If you Google it, Sant Kirpal's diary, you will find it. And that is to weed out all our bad mistakes, our bad actions, our bad deeds, and our bad thoughts. That the diary is very, very powerful. The diary is very, very powerful. That if kept in daily basis, that means any karma that has been created due to bad thoughts or bad actions, once we put it on the diary and we pray to Master, not just put it on the diary as like just an action, but pray from our inner heart to Master, not to make us do it again, not to make us have those thoughts again or those mistakes again. Then it works out as a very powerful tool to weed out all the thoughts, all these horrible thoughts that take us away from God. And as we do the diary, after years pass, we will see a huge difference. We will see a huge difference. How our mind used to have like 200 violent thoughts or 200 bad thoughts. Now it is like 5, 6 that you don't even have to write the diary. You can just like, oh, I had like 5 bad thoughts. I can tell Master. I can tell my inner Master. I don't have to write them down. That it reaches to that level, that our mind becomes more calm and more peaceful, and it's resounding the holy names. It's resounding the holy names all the time. That once we purify our mind through holy meditation, thinking of Master, and trying to do Simran as much as possible, at some point our Simran will be going to become automatic. Our Simran will become automatic, and the glorious singing to God is also going on. That either Simran is going on, thinking of Master is going on, or thinking of Seva is going on, or singing for God is going on. That anything that we use this mind, it will be used for godly purposes. It will be used for godly purposes. There are many stories, many stories. There is another story of Guru Gobind Singh. Guru Gobind Singh went to a village, I think it was called Rupa, something like that, a village where all the people were doing mistakes in their deeds. I think it was a village that people used to steal there. They used to be thieves. And then Guru Gobind Singh told them that they have to keep a diary, but they told him, listen, our dear Guru, we are illiterate people. We don't know how to write we don't know how to write. So then he said, okay, every time you put a mistake, you do a mistake, then put a stone there. And this is how you can write it down, by putting a stone. At the end of the month, they looked, and it was a big pile of stones, and they were so embarrassed. And then they decided not to steal anymore, not to do bad actions. And when the Guru came next time, they have already changed themselves. They have changed their actions, and there wasn't the big pile that they have collected the month before. So it is very, very important to weed out everything that is undesirable in us, that everything that creates the curtain, the big thick curtain between us and God. Once that curtain is removed, then the inner Master shows himself. The inner Master does not show himself if the house is dirty. If the house is dirty, then he might show a glimpse here and there. But if we want to see the Master all the time, then the house have to be clean. As when you invite a king to your house, you will probably clean your house very, very, very good to give a good impression to the king. And the same way, the King of Kings who is inside of us, in order for him to show himself, in order for him to live in this house and fully manifest himself in this house, the house have to be clean. The house have to be clean, and that is why the saints and masters gave us the tools to clean ourselves, which is Simran, meditation, diary, thinking of master, staying up here as much as possible, 3 hours, 4 hours a day, or even more, or even more. And then it becomes an addictive process. It becomes an addictive process, just like people in this world are addicted to drugs that give them sickness and hangover. Then there is something beautiful. There is something beautiful that once we clean our house to a certain degree, then we sit here, then there are feelings of joy, feelings of peace, some higher experiences, some love coming to us from Master, from God, from the kingdom of God, and we want to stay more and more here. We become addicted to our inner Master. We become addicted to the holiness inside of us, that we want more and more and more of it, and we start to increase our time. We start to increase our time, and the true lovers of God, the true lovers of God, they sleep very little. They sleep very little, and most of the night they are trying to enter in. Enter ye in at the straight gate, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to life. However, very few shall find it. And the true lovers of God are always trying to enter into this gate, always trying to enter. And how do we enter? Only one way. That is when Master has grace on us. This is what I learned throughout the years, that it's an effortless effort to rise up here to the doorway of the kingdom of God, but it is to open for the doorway to open, we need the grace of Master. That is why we have to please the Master. We have to please the Master, and when the Master is pleased, then grace pulls us. Love and our love and devotion translates into grace, and that grace will pull us. Nobody can enter without the grace. Nobody can enter without Master opening the door. No one. If we see suns, if we see moons, if we see stars, if we see the inner Master, that is only by Master's grace. Anything we see from the inner worlds, that is by the grace of the Master. As He can lift us up any second. He can lift us up any second, and He also, if He doesn't want, we will go through dry periods. A lot of us go through dry periods sometime. We all go through dry periods. But those dry periods, the saints and masters say that there is a reason for them. And what is the reason for the dry period? The reason for the dry period is that we are yearning more. That one time, our yearning becomes very huge when we have when we go through dry period. But what's happening, Master? Why are you mad at me? How come I'm not seeing anything? I'm not hearing anything? How come you didn't visit me for a long time? Please, please. What's happening? And then we try to please Master more and more by doing more meditation, by doing more Simran, by doing more Seva, and all these tools that He gave us. And then ultimately the dry period will become a wet period drenched with the nectar of the Master, and He will, by His grace, He will open the door. And then again the cycle goes on. I guess it goes on until totality of consciousness, until one time and until at some point we become so pure that, like Saint Kabir says, that now God is running after me. He's saying, Kabir, 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 you are so pure, come, come, come. And when we become so pure, pure at heart are the ones that shall see God 24/7, 24/7. That we will reach a stage by God's grace. I hope one day all of us will reach that stage where we will become so clean from inside that the King of Kings will be running after us. We will not have to run after Him like we do now. We're running after Master right now. We're trying our best. We're doing our best to see something, to hear something, or to experience something. But when we become pure at heart, then He is going to be there. He's going to be running. God is going to be running after us. The inner Master is going to be running after us, and we will have him 24/7, like Ishwar Puri ji said that he has Baba Sawan Singh 24/7. 24/7. Whenever he wants to talk to God, he can talk to God. Whenever he wants, he's on all levels and he's enjoying total bliss and total ecstasy all the time. So I wish that on all of us. I wanted to read a story from Mastana ji. Maybe I'll read it because it has to do with this subject, and I just opened it like that, and it was about eating and the food and the thoughts. Okay. So Mastana ji was a lover of God. Mastana means somebody who's crazy for God, and he was a disciple of Baba Sawan Singh. And we told his story before. Mastana ji did not like to eat much. He believed in self-earning and ate the food from his income. This is very important. He planted vegetables and grains in the ashram, and it was used in the free kitchen for the Sangat. He instructed his disciples not to use vegetables coming from outside. He said that the kind of seeds that were planted in the body made the same kind of thoughts develop in man. See what I was talking about? Mildly spicy food calms the feeling and makes the health good while the brain remains fresh during meditation. It helps a lot for fixing the mind at the spiritual spot for long hours. Eating less food than the appetite desires will aid the digestion. He believed in three things in life: eat less, sleep less, and speak less. If you speak good words which should pacify and satisfy the listeners. If you eat, you don't have to worry about any disease. You want to remember your master again and again, and desire develops for more meditation on your guru or master. With food, you feed the body, and with Simran, you feed the soul. Oh. When the body is built up with balanced food, the soul is awakened and enlightened with the food of Simran. I love that. So food and Simran go side by side for good meditation. Food and Simran go side by side for good meditation. So the activity of the mind depends on your diet. He always advised all of the Sangha to do Simran while they did their jobs, either in the fields or at home. With Simran, everything is blessed by the Lord or the Master. When you eat, do Simran. When, when you start work, do Simran. When you go to bed, do Simran. And when you serve, do Simran. According to Mastanaji, Simran is such a power that it heals everything and combines the mind and soul with which remain evergreen. The food eaten by doing Simran makes the health ever fresh and green. Whenever he used to go out of his ashram to other cities, he would take all kinds of food with him. He used to explain in his satsang, it is easy to eat food from others, but it is hard to digest it. Listen to this. There is a big meaning in this. Learn it. Me too. I have to learn too. It is easy to eat food from others, but it is hard to digest it. For one time of eating others' food, one has to do meditation for 2.5 hours in order to pay the price for that. Such food affects the mind to encourage the negative powers to rise against you. Wow. Food plays an important role in life, and your health depends on you, what kind of food you eat in your daily life. If you are strictly vegetarian and eat the food from non-satsangis, money, you will have to pay it back either by falling sick, wow, or by losing your money. Big lessons here for us to learn. A spiritual man has to be careful in life, and the same is the case with his followers. Food eaten by wrong means will lead your life down the wrong road. One time, some satsangis did a bandara by collecting money from satsangis and non-satsangi friends. Then another satsangi went to attend the retreat at his house and ate the food. When he came back to his house, he suffered from diarrhea. for 15 days, and he became so weak that he could hardly walk by himself. On food, Saint Kabir wrote, food eaten from meditators is better than from a non-meditator's house. It is better to eat simple food rather than that of the rich people. Once a man had a fight with his wife about money, and he forcibly took some money from her and came to satsang. He also brought some fruit to some of the people. When they ate it, they started to argue on the smallest topics and became angry. And then they started beating one another. Oh my God, this is just from eating food that was in a fight. People were fighting and they ate this food, and look what happened to them. A wise man in the satsang asked the reason for the fight, and they could not think why they reached the point of beating one another. Oh my God. The man asked when they started to argue and on what topic and what did they eat before the argument. They later came to know from the satsangis who gave them the fruit and how he took the money from his wife after having a dispute over money and took the money from her forcibly and bought some fruit and shared it with them. So you can imagine to what extent wrong money can take you. Mastana ji always told them not to use the wrong money for them and for their children. This story is also recorded in the book written by Baba Ji Managar Shahib, his beloved successor. So according to Mastanaji, always eat from your own earnings and make your living peacefully and happily. Always focus your attention on the Lord before eating. In this way, you will have good progress in your meditation. Mastanaji was always against eating a heavy dinner. The space which is left in the stomach should be filled with the light and the beauty of the Lord. The soul becomes healthy and strong and helps you in meditation. A healthy lunch is good for your health, but a light dinner is good for meditation at night. Beautiful, beautiful godly words that can teach us so much about the way of the saints and how they lived, they earned their income. They earned their income and they lived from that money. They never took money out of donations or out of, because then that money will become poisonous to them, that they worked for their money. And that's what the saints and masters are telling us in these stories, that, try not to eat food from the outside because
And I was at Dharamsala, posted as a deputy commissioner there. So it was my duty. I received him. I put him in a house there. Then we began to go out on trips together, which he used to love. He was learning some English at that time and some Hindi. And during our discussions, he pointed out that the biggest difficulty he had found was that the mind can think in several levels, and he had been able to one day observe how the mind, if you observe how many levels it is thinking of, you could be able to observe up to 8 levels. Most people can't do more than 4 or 5, even if you try. You try to figure out how many levels the mind is working. First, the mind works by thinking in your language, in your voice. Then there's a top voice on that, commenting upon it. Then what happens? Some other person's picture comes in front of you. Your friend, your wife, your child, somebody there talking to you. That's also you talking in somebody else's voice. The mind has so many ways to keep on distracting you from the first principal voice that you're using in meditation. So this is another problem that People have shared with me, people with meditation for years and years have shared this problem, that the mind is so powerful that it takes us away no matter, even if we keep on repeating words. Naturally, because you can repeat words with your one voice and the mind will take you away with another voice. The answer to this question, how to handle this, is to use repetition of words with every voice that you can hear. Most people don't do that, but it's a good way to control it. I have practiced it. It was useful. I suggest you try it. Every voice that comes in your head, do not stop repeating the words. Add that voice at the same point where you are, and then you will hear two voices repeating it. A third comes, add the third one. A person's picture comes up, an image comes up of somebody else there, join them. Supposing 10 people appear in front of you while you are meditating, let all 10 join you. You know what is the best way to repeat words in order to control the mind from running out is to make everything that comes repeat the words. Good Simran, good repetition of a mantra exists when every character in your head is repeating it. It's a chorus. And loud. You can't imagine how much loud voice you can hear without opening your mouth. And it's all inside. It's effective. So there are many techniques, short techniques that I will share with you in the next couple of days that I'm here, in which you can make it very practical and achieve the result that you want to have. So the words that we repeat, they help us to concentrate attention. If we can use all the language, all the channels of the mind, all pictures it can make, participate in the repetition, then at least something is gone, but then you will have a problem of images coming, memories coming. With no words, you are repeating the words loudly and memories start coming and repeating. You can handle that also by using your own imagination to have a fixed image and using it. These are simple techniques which help us to become unaware of our body and die while living. And as you said, so many of you raised your hand, we'll practice them when I'm still here, because I don't believe that a talk is enough. A talk is a talk, but we should walk the talk also. So what we say, we should practice, and not practice later on, practice while the iron is hot. That is when we just hear, we should practice. That is why in all my talks now, I am also including meditation sessions so that we can practice what we talk about. But just to give you an idea, what happens when you discover that you have a self, you have a form that exists, and you can experience it even now, you are experiencing it, but the attention is all mostly on the physical body and the physical world outside. Therefore, that remains a sort of an imaginary self of your own. What is imagination? You will discover the power of imagination only when you are unaware of this body. Imagination is not as imaginary as we think. The power of imagination is to create an experience of a world with that imagination. Here, in the physical world, with a physical body, when we imagine something, nothing happens. It's an imagination. But when the physical body is not there, your inner body is there, which you have now been able to experience by becoming unaware of this body, by putting your attention behind the eyes of this physical body, then you get that, you will find whatever you imagine becomes a reality. You will also find, strangely, that most of the life we are leading here was imagined earlier and therefore became a reality here. It's something so unique. You'll see the power of the self, power of consciousness, how it created all experiences. But the very first step is able to show you how imagination is not so imaginary and becomes reality at another level. But we are still living in a similar world, and that inner body of sense perceptions is still a cover upon the self. We have not discovered ourselves. We have only discovered a form of ourselves which seems to be embedded inside this self and which is longer lasting than this and will survive death of the physical body. That's all we have discovered. It's not a discovery of our ultimate self. But by practicing the same thing, by going within that body, the head of that body, which is still similar to this body, going within the head of that body, by similar techniques, you can discover that even sense perceptions are merely a cover upon ourselves, that they are not ourselves. They are just a means of using consciousness in a certain way to create experience. You can go within that and discover that perceptions need not be divided, that you don't have to see and touch and taste and hear separately to have an experience, that the whole experience is built together and we have separated it for creating a variety of experience. That power of perception without dividing is possible with the inner body behind the astral body, which I call the astral or ethereal body that is inside this body. There we discover that the power to think, that the thinking process is not taking place either in this body or in the sensory systems, it's taking place inside. And we call that the causal body because that is the mind. A human mind is the causal body. When we discover that, then we find out that this thinking machine, that what we thought happened, that whatever was the inner thought, the primary thought, primal thought, that is what was creating the experience outside. We see it ourselves. It was the self creating these experiences. That all the experiences were stored there, that we pulled out from there, that we picked up our destinies from there, that what we think is a destiny, why things are happening here, how they are happening, you find the answers to those questions personally yourself by looking at your own mind inside. A mind that you can see, experience without the senses and without the physical body. So long as you have got a physical body, the mind is a hidden thinking machine inside. Nobody can see the mind. But through this process, you can see, experience the mind just by itself and see how it creates sensory perceptions, how it creates everything. You will see that the mind is creating the whole experience of all universes. It's not a theoretical thing, it's a personal experience. It's a great experience. And some of the greatest successful people who have said that they have reached the totality of consciousness, who have found out the truth about themselves, have reached that level to find that the real cause of all experiences is arising from our own mind. Not only that, they also discovered that our mind, which we thought was all divided amongst us individually, was really all one. There's only one mind that is dividing the experience into all of us. That's a great experience by itself. And yet, there are people who tell us that that is not yourself. You just found a cover upon yourself called the mind. That this experience of time, space that we are having, which goes on till that level, is itself not real, is being created. The mind itself is being created by your power of consciousness. Then what is now within that mind? What can you discover within that mind? There is no effort on your part which can go beyond that, because all effort we make of any kind is with our mind. Now if we have to go beyond effort and go effortlessly, then there must be some other method. If we can't do anything about it, then how do we go? If there is something beyond the mind, how do we find it? Now that is where the real true spiritual path starts. The rest is mental games. I could call all these experiences of inner awareness, inner knowledge of yourself, merely as a mental game. It is a mental game. You're using your mind to have these experiences. But how do you now go beyond the mind and discover what is empowering the mind to function? What is empowering the mind, which in turn is empowering this physical body and the senses to function? Isn't that your own self? Isn't that the true consciousness? How do we reach that? No effort can do anything. And how can we be effortless? We don't know how to be effortless. A friend of mine, I was studying in Harvard University, and he one day told me he'd found a way to be effortless. And in the last paragraph of his letter, he wrote to me, he said, I am going to try very hard to be effortless. So you can imagine how the mind functions. We have no way, with the equipment of the mind, senses, and body, to be effortless. Then what is the process which can be effortless and take us beyond the mind? It has to be something that pulls us from beyond the mind. It can't be that we can push ourselves. And you will notice that there is a power within us which pulls us inside. And that we call the power of love. The power of love pulls us. Love is the only experience that I know. The only experience existing in this entire universe, at all levels, which has the power to pull you. All others are push. All mental activity is to push, and love is that pulls. But how does love pull? Love pulls when somebody pulls us. If there is nobody, you can't have a pull. In this physical world, when you have experience of love, there's a beloved. The beloved pulls you. You can't become a lover by yourself. There has to be beloved to pull you. And not only that, the beloved has to pull you first before you experience love. You cannot become a lover unless there's a beloved first. A Persian mystic says, Ishq awwal dar dile mashuk paida mishwar. That love is first born in the heart of the beloved. And then you become a lover. You can't even become a lover, you can't experience love if there is no beloved to pull you. Now, if we have to be pulled beyond the mind, there has to be a beloved that pulls us from beyond the mind. Which means it must be some power that lies in a state beyond the mind. And such a power is also the power of consciousness, but to have this experience of being pulled by that power, it must be separated from us. The lover and beloved must be separated to have that experience. And therefore, the beloved who pulls us from beyond that, in the terms of the physical world, we call that human being who can perform that function, even at that level, we call that a perfect living master. When we talk of a Sant Satguru, when we talk of the teacher who can take us beyond the mind, it is the pull of the love of that person, of that human being. Because we are starting as human beings, this whole journey. So it becomes a human being in that form who pulls us beyond the mind. And the experience is of love and not of meditation. Meditation has its limitations because it's an effort. Love is not an effort. Love is a pull. You're pulled by love. Now, if you have an experience with these kind of people, you will notice that they, who we call the perfect living masters. In America, we abbreviate everything, call them PLMs. These perfect living masters, they start having an association with us. If they are going to be our eternal friends, which means if they are our masters. That means if we have a relationship with them, that we are going beyond the mind to what we call our true home, true state. If they are the ones who are going to be associated with us, they will start by becoming teachers, teaching us methods to push. What is that method? Meditate more, try hard, do this, do that. Here are the rules, follow this diet, stay like this. They'll give you instructions. The mind loves that. The mind loves to be taught so that we can learn. The mind has been so indoctrinated with this idea that we have to learn and then struggle and work hard to get anything. That's what we do here, and that's what we try to do in meditation. That's what we try to do when we're trying to achieve anything in outside or inside. So they come and say, yes, follow that process. So they become friends. We say, that's very good, they're giving us some good instructions. They have not come to teach. There are thousands and thousands of teachers who can teach the same thing. But they are adopting this to satisfy our mind that we want to be taught and to learn. It's a very simple method. Now you learn this. But when we try to practice, they create a barrier. It doesn't succeed. For other things, we keep on succeeding. When we try to do what they try to teach us, we don't succeed. And then we say, there's something wrong here somewhere. They are telling us that this, what we are looking for, is beyond teaching and beyond struggle. Eventually, what happens is, gradually, we fall in love with these people. And they attract us with their unconditional love. Love, we can love anybody in this world, but the difference in the love that we experience from such people whom we call the perfect living masters and all other experiences is, their love is totally unconditional, non-judgmental. They never say, we love you if you be good. We hate you if you are not. They don't say, we are going to punish you for doing these things. There are plenty of other people doing it. Our own mind is doing it. Our own mind is punishing us all the time. They don't come to punish. They know what trap we are in. They have love and compassion at all times, no matter what. It's a very unusual experience. Very unusual because we don't find it in the world. All love we find in the world is conditional. I love you if you do this for me. If you don't, I don't love you anymore. These attachments also we are calling love. We are attached to people, attached to things, we call it love. This is not the kind of experience we have with these people. The experience we have with these perfect living masters is of pure, unalloyed, unconditional, non-judgmental love. Something that holds us so strong that even all the doubts and all the arguments of the mind against this, all that the mind says is irrational, it's not logical, don't follow, that love still overcomes all this, overrides it, and we are pulled by that. That's the secret. Now, if these perfect living masters are really operating from beyond the mind, they pull us beyond the mind. There is no way to go beyond the mind except through love and devotion. All other methods are only to go up to the level of the totality of our mind, of our universal mind. They do not reach our true home. They do not reach our soul. They are only satisfying our mind. We are caught up in that too. Of course, it's a great experience, but it's not total self-realization. It's not a discovery of who we are, nor is it a permanent return to immortality in our true home. To achieve that, we have to be pulled beyond the mind by one who is already there behind. When I say already there, what does that mean? We are all already there, actually. We are just not aware of it. This game of a spiritual journey is not really to try and travel anywhere. It's just an uncovering of your own self by becoming unaware of the covers, gradually one after the other. It's not a journey in that sense. We will discover at the end we were never out of our home. The whole experience took place there. Return to our true home is merely return to our state which is already there, except for these covers upon ourselves. So therefore, if somebody has that pull from there, it must be visible right here. It must be visible. That unconditional love we are talking about must be visible right here, visible at every level. When we have these spiritual experiences, or experiences of elevated levels of consciousness, or experiences of what we will be like if the physical body were not there, if the sensory systems were not there, if the mind were not there, these levels of experiences when we have only one level of experience at one time. If you withdraw your attention from the physical body and become aware of your inner self, then you have only that experience. The physical experience disappears. Only the inner experience stays. When you come back, the physical experience alone exists, that becomes dreamlike. When you go to sleep at night, the dream world opens up, the physical experience ends. The dream experience becomes real. When you wake up in the morning, the dream world ends. The physical experience becomes real. At one time, we only experience one reality. We never have multiple realities. This is the nature of consciousness experiencing reality or created reality. But when you go beyond the mind, then you come to the source of all experience, how consciousness is operating to create these covers and experiences. And then you can retain all the experiences because they are real and unreal at the same time. By the process of illusion, by the process of the mind being able to imagine things, we are creating reality, not illusion. Illusion is only a process. What we create is reality, the only reality that we know. Therefore, we can have one reality at a time, but if you cross the mind, and these perfect living masters who have crossed the mind hold the reality of all levels at all times. Which means when you see them as human beings, they are not confining themselves to human experience and they say one day we can go in and come out. They are at all places at all times. They can talk to us directly about the experiences taking place at those levels without having to make a journey and come back. They don't make journeys, we make journeys. We make journeys because we have only one reality at one time, and they can see all realities at all times. So even as human beings, they're very different from us. They look like us, behave like us, live like us. They become totally ordinary like us, because that's the only way they can become friends and give us the experience of true love. If they were unusual, extraordinary, we wouldn't have the experience of true love. We would admire them. We would even worship them if they're extraordinary. But we can't be friends. We can't have experience of a love that we know is when we are at the same level, like each other. That is why they become exactly like us, so we can have that experience. And yet, as we know them more and more, we discover they are ordinary, but something in them is extraordinary. What is extraordinary? Extraordinary is the power of their love to pull us. And that's how they operate. Therefore, let us remember that for the true spiritual path, to go to our true home, to our Sachkhand, there is no other way except love and devotion. That's the only way. If somebody can show me a different way, I'll be ready to accept it. I have not found any. Why do we say love and devotion? Why don't we just stop at love? We say love is the true home. Why are we saying love and devotion all the time? Love and devotion. Because love is an experience that we have. Our response is devotion. Love and devotion go together because when we experience love, especially the unalloyed, pure, unconditional love when we experience, automatically we become devotees, and our devotion is a response. It's also the same nature as love. Devotion is like love. But devotion fits in when we assume that we are being pulled. When we experience we are being pulled by love. So we can call the puller as lover or beloved. In any case, we become devotees and we have devotion. So love and devotion go together. When you have experience of love, you have experience of devotion at the same time. And that can be expressed in so many ways. But the main change that takes place through the experience of love and devotion is internal. It pulls us so fast. We don't have to wait till we go to the causal plane of our mind and then say, now I'm going to practice love and devotion. Love and devotion starts right from here. But it is covered by these other things that happen, like trying to push through, trying to struggle, trying to work hard. I remember there was a disciple, a very good disciple of this great master, Baba Sawan Singh's disciple. And his name is passed away. I can take his name, Dariyai Lal. He written a couple of books also on his experiences. And He was an official in a small state near the Dera in India, the ashram where Great Master was working. And that was Kapurthala state, very close to the Dera. And he was the finance minister there, he was a judge there, he had held high positions. When he retired from there, he came to Great Master and he said, Master, I have been attending your discourses, I have been meditating under your instructions. I want to do some seva now, I've retired, I have all the time free. And Great Master said, you can take any seva you like, you're a highly educated person. You can become secretary of our organization, you can become financial advisor, you can be legal advisor, you can do anything. There's so much work going on here, you can take any seva, any service you like. He said, no, I don't want that kind of service. The only service, if you let me have it, would be to be your doorman, to stand outside your door. And Great Master said, okay. In the rest of his life, he was a doorman, standing outside door. He enjoyed that job though. He enjoyed because he told me. He said, it's so wonderful to see people coming to see Great Master with love and devotion so filled up in their eyes. It was an experience to see the disciples. Of course, it was a great experience to be with the Master. But it was a greater experience, he said, to see how people come up with so much love and devotion. Where does it come from? For a human being sitting inside, they come to see him. How can they have that kind of feeling? It was a great experience for him. After some years of this seva, of this service, he goes to the Master and says, Master, I have done this beautiful seva, I feel so happy, but I missed out on something. I did not meditate. I was supposed to meditate every day, and I was going on doing seva outside and not meditating. I had to catch up with all that. I never got any inner experiences. I did not verify anything inside what you were telling is right or wrong or anything. Please give me some chance now, give me a little break from this seva so I can catch up with this lost meditation. And he said, Master, I understand every year you go to a hill station.
Okay, my dear holy family, it's time to slip within to the land of love. It's time for God, time for the kingdom of God. So let's forget about the world outside and the body below and come up here to the third eye center where Master is waiting for us. Have few words of gratitude for our Holy Father. Ishwarji, hold his hand, repeat the mantra slowly at intervals with the tongue of thought. And I wish you or listen to the Holy Shabd, and I wish you the best meditation. I hope to see you tomorrow for another holy day in Holy Ishwarji. I'll keep Zoom on for 20 minutes so we can be together.